Alright everyone, so I've been spending some time on my game. I'm just finishing a few details, but for now I just wanted to share a look at some of the combat mechanics. So as you may know, this is a melee focused game. In a most basic observation, medieval combat involves strike attacks and slash attacks, so weapons like the club use a single full damage trace, whereas a sword's slash attack distributes the damage along some of the path of motion with multiple traces, meaning if you don't get a good hit on an enemy with a sword, it may not do full damage. That is the trade-off for being able to hit multiple enemies at once. So the strike attacks are simple. You attack, it plays an animation, and within the animation is a notify event that tells the game when to perform the sphere trace hit detection, which means that the animation needs to play on the server, even a dedicated server, which is a tick option in the mesh, I believe. Anyway, slash attacks do the same thing with the animation and the animation notify event, but it's a different slash notify event that triggers a sphere trace every tick, where it does all the math and stuff to determine if the hit target has been dealt the full damage of the sword, so it stops damaging them. Now, one of the main issues is frame rate. If this action is tick-based, then frame rate potentially becomes a huge issue, because it directly determines how many hit detections will occur. So in abhorrent light, I base this off frame rate. I find that using distance between the 2 points is more consistent, but I'm not going to change that now. So as you can see, they look a bit different. The blue traces here, the blue lines, are the individual per tick line traces. The red is filling in the gap. So this is the interpretation. And on the 120 FPS attack, it only does 1 per tick, 1 addition per tick. But here you can see it's filling in 5. So I get the frame rate using a function, and I relate that to a clamped range between 0 and 6 additional cycles between current trace and previous trace. So for every hit slash function, so this would be every tick during the attack event, it will call fill gaps. And last recorded endpoint is a class variable. So if we go in here, first thing it does is it checks if last endpoint is valid. So if it's 0, meaning if there is no previous line trace, do nothing, because that's the first one. So here I get frames per second, which is just get world delta seconds divided by, or it's 1 divided by get world delta seconds. And that gives you the frames per second. So if it's less than 240 FPS, we get a range of cycles between 0 and 6 between current and last endpoint. So get slash gap points. Okay, so after coming back to this, after probably a year or two, I have figured out what I'm doing here. So basically I'm multiplying current endpoint by the current cycle, and I'm multiplying last endpoint by the remaining cycles. And then I add that together and divide by the total cycles to find the average. So if it's on cycle 2 out of 5, that's current endpoint times 2 and last endpoint times 3. Then we divide that by 5, creating a perfect automatic interpretation for each step. Then you get the result like we saw before. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully this offered some insight,
Let me know if you have questions.
and thanks for watching.
You ever hear the one about the geologist in the music shop? It's a good one. A geologist walks into a music store and asks the cashier, "Got any rock?" The guy looks him up and down and says,